All right, so again, I'm Brandon Hallinan. I'm with Direct Expansion Solutions. We're the local rep and distributor for Daikin VRV equipment. Behind you got 3 different indoor fan coils. They're floor units. All 3 of those, it appears, are controlled by this one Navstat right here. So this is essentially a controller. You could control an entire system with up to 16 heads with this alone. So this has tons of logic inside of it. For the most part, all of the settings and things like that have been pre-programmed for you during commissioning and startup. So that's set up to run off of space temp, meaning the thermistor in here is going to report this room temp to you on the display, and then it's going to send it to the back net as well to the front end. When you come up to this thing, it's going to be dim lit just like this. You're going to want to press any button to make the light come on so you can start commanding it. I usually just like to hit cancel because I know I'm not going to give it a command with cancel. After it's lit up, you can just use the red arrow to go up, blue arrow to go down, as simple as that. It looks like it's set to 60, which might be, I mean,
Perfect.
feels good. It might be a little low, to be honest. You probably don't need the unit to be set to 60 all the time because you don't want to freeze your coil. So I would suggest leaving it at like a 65, 66 degree max. I mean, this is a set it and forget it. It's going to be cooling only always in here. You only have them in elevator, mechanical, and IT rooms from my understanding. So again, although it is a heat pump system, so it could heat system-wide, turn over from cool to heat as needed, you're just going to pretty much be, again, set it and forget it. You're going to be in cooling all year because the whole point is to not overheat the servers. So I'm going to bump this up a little bit just to like 65, 66. So again, no freezing the coil, no issues like that. You have a fan speed option right here on the bottom left, so you can go low or high on these floor options. Probably just going to leave it on high because it's not like there's any tenants or people down here that you're going to bother. The equipment doesn't care if the fan's on low or high as long as it's not overheating. Over here you have what mode you're in, so you can cycle right here between fan, cool, dry, and heat. It's not going to go to heat right now because this is not the master stat. So because it's a heat, oh, good call, I appreciate it. So because this is a heat pump system, it needs a system-wide demand to change over from heat to cool, and that means one unit, one stat had to be set up as the master somewhere. So you can see right here the message on the top, it says master controlled, meaning this is not the master stat. You would walk around, find one of these that has no message up at the top, and that's the master. So you could change everything from cool to heat on the master. Otherwise, it's just going to go between the mode that the master's in and fan.
So even though it says master, it's not the master.
So it says master controlled with the ED at the end.
Okay.
So it's
Right.
not master control, but master controlled. So there is another master somewhere else controlling this guy. So again, you can still change this set points freely as high or as low as you want. But if you go out of your range where, you know, this thing would technically want to swap modes, but there isn't a system-wide demand enough to do so, then this would just sit there and not run, or just move fans without have refrigerant actually flowing. So again, mode changes on your top left, fan speed on your bottom left.
Hey.
Oh, is that gonna lock us in?
I would have laughed my ass
Don't walk into a glass.
All right. So your green light indicates that the unit is on and running. If the light is on and solid, that's a good sign. If it's no light, that means no matter what this set point says or what it rises or falls to in here, it's not going to run. It needs the green light on to be running. If you ever see the green light flashing at you, that indicates an error or a warning on the system. It'll also tell you right here on the bottom under this solid bold line, it'll say, again, warning or error, press OK. You'd press the menu or OK button, and then right at the top, it would tell you what your error code is. So say a U9, which is essentially, hey, something's wrong on the system, just not with me. Or a U4, which is a communication issue. 99% of the time, a U4 means you lost power to a unit somewhere. So you'd go look at all the stats. If they all have displays, then you start popping panels and seeing what actually has power. In here, you have a configuration option. You can cycle it between a detailed display, a standard display, and a simple. Because again, there's no occupants down here, I suggest leaving it on the detailed so that when you guys look at it, you're getting as much information as the stat will give you. So right now, it looks like you have it in detailed, so we're already good to go there. Your daylight savings has been set up as well as your clock and calendar. It doesn't seem like an important thing to do except for from a service guy's standpoint for troubleshooting. If you guys are saying, hey, we don't know what's going on, we get this one error message every Tuesday morning, we come in, it's blinking at us. I can come here, go to your error history, say, all right, every Monday night at 12:33 in the morning, something's happening. What else is going on in the building at that time, etc. So it is helpful. Other than that, that's your basic menu. There is one more thing I'll get into right now. So if you hold cancel for 7 to 10 seconds, that'll bring you to a service settings menu. Most of this, almost all of this has been set up for you, so you shouldn't need to regularly go in there. But if you ever need to get to, your field settings or your error history, this is where it would be. You'd hold cancel for 7 seconds, scroll down. Your field settings are here. All it is a mode number, a first code, and a second designation code. So if you don't know what those are, you gotta be real careful when you're changing them because there's no factory default to just, say, okay, let's reset this back to normal. Because all that information gets saved to the boards on the fan coil. So theoretically, we could take a hammer to this thing, slap a new one on there, and you should still have all the same information without the date, time, and display. So let's back out of there. Minimum set point, this thing's set up to run off of a single set point. So when it turns from cool to heat, it won't be like a cool of 74 and a heat of 68. It'll be the same thing. If one's set at 72, they're both set at 72. And part of that is because these have a functionality where they can have an auto changeover. That means the way that works is, say it's 80 in the space, you set the stat to 72. It'll judge the space, say, okay, I know I need to be in cool mode to satisfy that space temp. It'll cool all the way until about a half degree past what it shows, and then consider itself satisfied, and it'll keep the fans going, stop the flow of refrigerant, and then you have a primary deadband of 2 degrees, a secondary deadband of 1 degree, and a guard timer of 15 minutes. So the unit satisfies, it lets the room naturally rise or fall that primary deadband 2 degrees in any direction. At that point in time, when it reaches that, it'll start the 15-minute guard timer. And that's for life of the compressor, energy efficiency costs, etc. So it'll say, okay, at the end of 15 minutes, I'll judge the space again, see what I need to be, and come right on and be in the right mode to do so. If during that 15 minutes you surpass your 3rd degree and you get 4 degrees away, meaning you surpassed your secondary deadband, it'll say, okay, forget the guard timer. We're changing a little too quick in here. I need to come on and mediate the space, and it'll turn itself back on. Again, with all that being said, I guarantee you these will be in cooling only 24/7 throughout the year. Because again, IT rooms, mechanical rooms, no real need to heat it. They create enough of that on their own. So that's basically it. Green is on. Off is a no-go until you press it again. If it's ever blinking at you, it's time to look at it. For the most part, leave it in cool. Set it to around 68 or so for these IT rooms and let it be. Again, all this goes back to this gateway device right here. No screens, no displays, nothing for you to see. There's power on your right-hand side and a 18-2 non-shielded communication wire on your left. That goes directly to your condensing unit. And everything speaks through here to your front end. Eventually, if you wanted a schedule or something, that's where it would be done. But 24/7 cooling units, not to be repetitive, but he said for right now, these are not on the system. It's ready to go. The IP and network is all set up. But the way he said he would have to pull it in, he would have to shut down almost the whole campus for a minute. So he's waiting on a good time to do that or till he can find a workaround. So right now they're standalone from my understanding. So whatever's happening at the stat, whatever the last command here is what it's gonna do for you. And that's pretty much the rundown unless you guys got any questions.
Yeah, there's 2 units on the roof, 2 large, there's 3 up there, there's a small one and 2 larger ones, so the
Yep.
smaller one I assume is 1-to-1.
The small one should be a 1-to-1. That's probably like your elevator room.
Okay.
And then the other 2 you probably have one of them that serves these 3. Because I think you only have, what, 7 total units, if I remember talking to Chris correctly this morning. So that would be 3 condensing units. I would imagine 3 on one big one, 3 on another big one, and then that split is going to be your 1-for-1.
I just, know maybe it'd be probably more for you to label what units go to what condenser on the roof. And also if there's a branch box, I don't know how you guys.
Yeah, so if it was a 3-pipe heat recovery system, you're absolutely right. Branch boxes, almost like a Mitsu or something.
Yeah.
But because it's heat pump, it's heating or cooling only. No branch selector boxes. All those 4-way valves, everything gets done in the condensing unit.
So it's home runs all the way up.
Home runs all the way up.
So the program resides in these?
Yeah, so you put the program in here, and there's a primary control board in each unit, and it literally burns itself into the unit.
So if we lose one of these, we only lose one.
Correct, but you would have to pull the head off. That would require a service call because you'd have to pull some wiring off, wire cap it, cycle power to reinitialize the system so that it doesn't see that head for you to keep running. Because the way these work are, especially with the heat pump system, your comms daisy chain. So you have that 18-2 wire we were talking about right here goes from condensing unit to condensing unit to condensing unit, and then on a different terminal, another of that same wire goes from condensing unit to the first head, and then daisy chain, daisy chain. So if you lost that first or middle one, you would technically lose all 3. So you would have, this would be blinking at you, and you'd have that U4 error code, which is a communication. Another thing before we shut the camera off, I'm not gonna be able to do anything on it because we have no service, but there's this thing we have, it's extremely helpful, the Daikin service app. You can download it on Android or Apple iOS, whatever you want. It's got a gear with a blue and black line across the top left. After you download it, you simply click on it. You'd say, okay, I have a VRV system. I have a VRV4, even though VRV and VRV4 are same fault codes. So you'd click on the bottom, fault codes. You'd put that U4 I was telling you about. And there you go, communication issue between indoor and outdoor unit, tells you what likely caused it, what you could likely do to fix it. That's huge for you guys. That saves you lots of nuisance calls for having to pay us to come out, you know?
How about like a live tech support? Is there a number you can call to talk to someone, or you have to do a
I'm doing things like this pretty much all day long. Daikin has their own tech support number where you'll call in, you'll give them the model number of the unit, the error code, and the basic issue, and then they'll put you in a queue. A live tech will call you back, and then until they'll pretty much help you resolve the, yeah.
Change the board.
Yeah.
Change the board.
Yeah, a lot
the
of,
fan and the board?
And the compressor this time.
so the way those boards work, because if you lose a fan and you don't know whether it's the fan's fault or the board's fault, and then you just throw the new fan in there with the bad board, you'll smoke the new one again. So Mitsu, Fuji, Daikin, everybody tells you, if you lose your fans, change the fan board and the fan. Same with like your inverter compressor. God forbid you were ever to lose the compressor, you'd want to change the board with it. If you only lost the board, you could meg out the compressor and know that your compressor is still good, and then you don't have to do both. But with your fans and things, it's just kind of a resistance test. You don't get as detailed info on it. But yeah, that's pretty much the rundown on these guys. And then my office, again, always available. If tech support isn't getting back to you or you don't have anything, we're more than willing to help. I can leave somebody my card at the end. I got to go grab a couple more out of the truck, but I can still grab it for you.
Why don't you stick it right in next to you?
We could probably do that, yeah. If I ever don't answer, just leave a voicemail. I do these type of things every day. I can't always answer the phone, and I give out a lot of cards. So leave a voicemail, say, you know, your name, job site, what's going on, and I guarantee to get back to you. All right.
Yeah, it's right in.
Cool. And I think that's my whole spiel right